Well, this is Prince from MediaSFU, and today I'll be providing a quick guide on how to uh, have MediaSFU incorporated in your project as your media provider. So by default, we'll be doing that with our SpacesTek, which is our demo project to show you how to MediaSFU to your application. And so far, there are three repos for SpacesTek. Primarily, there's the initial, which basically just shows you how to uh, have a demo application. Basically, it's our startup application. It doesn't have media incorporated, how to create a space, and then how to join, accept, and reject requests. So you have to take a look at that video if you haven't seen that so far. And then from SpacesTek Initial, we have SpacesTekFinal, which basically has the integration of MediaSFU added as a media provider. And then there's Final SpacesTek Advanced. And for the far that we are looking at SpacesTek, which is solely on audio, we end at audio integration as in receiving and sending audio. While SpacesTek Advanced takes further look at video transformations and the like. So uh, this in this context, we are looking at ReactJS. If you open the model repo, you will have a link to MediaSFU ReactJS. The basic idea is you clone the repo, you CD per the instruction, you get into the directory, and then you work from there, or you copy and paste somewhere else, and you work from that all together. So, in particular, what you need is to get into ReactJS. There's a bunch of guide telling you how we moved from MediaSFU initial to final. Primarily, we just create a handler, MediaSFU handler to create a MediaSFU room for us. And then this is irrespective of whether you are dealing with MediaSFU cloud or your local instance or whatever. At the end of the day, it's still the same SDK you're working with. Okay, so by default, there is a guide here. You can go through that. And a very key thing we added is what we call the public transcript. If you go up, it's indicated as a detailed integration steps. So this kind of have basically everything you need to do to have MediaSFU from initial to final. And we try to be as exhaustive as possible. So if you take a look in here, you'll see a bunch of step-by-step guide. So moving from one end to the other. And for some reason, if you have difficulty understanding what I'm saying in here, or you miss a step or so, you can have it as a supporting material, or you can solely rely on it to have your MediaSFU final added to your application. Okay, so just as an indication, if you are dealing with MediaSFU final and advanced, there's always going to be a transcript file, which basically is just a detailed step-by-step guide with code helping you to get MediaSFU to work. So briefly going back to MediaSFU SpacesTek final, we are going to start off with the plan today as one, clone our initial repo. Once we clone our repo, we install our dependencies, and then but the very key thing for today is to get MediaSFU to work. So we have to install MediaSFU ReactJS. Once we do that, we play around with how to get MediaSFU into your application. And then you look at look at three options. One is just relying solely on your local server, which might be of interest to a lot of people. And then the very next one, how do I combine my local server and then have MediaSFU's cloud as my endpoint for egress, so recording or for AI agents and the like. And the very last one will just be those who are solely on MediaSFU cloud, as in they don't have an initial server, which is MediaSFU Community Edition. And mostly just has to do with indicating where your server is running, and then where your credentials are and how to secure them and the like. So on that note, if you haven't seen the video, you haven't watched the video for starting your own MediaSFU server, and you are reliant on that, you are gonna be using that, then I recommend you go set up your community edition. Just if you are using that, if you are solely relying on MediaSFU Cloud, MediaSFU Cloud, then you don't really have to worry about anything. Okay, so once more, this on the repo, we have to clone everything, but then we're just going to focus on our ReactJS instance and our backend, which we need to run to have our synchronized data state. So the first thing I'm going to grab is grab the link, but once we are starting off with the final, so we are going to start off with our MediaSFU initial and then work our way up to the final. So let me just go up one step and then go to MediaSFU initial and then grab the code. We've done this in the initial explanation, but so just starting off fresh for this instance. So for this, I'm going to head to my VS Code and then I'm going to do git clone. So when I do this, it should clone my repo in probably about a minute or less. Okay, so the very first thing you see is that you have a bunch of files ranging from backend, then different packages depending on what you're working on, which we are looking at ReactJS in this context. I'm going to just reopen my folder with a focus on ReactJS so that I don't have to deal with all these folders showing in here. So primarily I'm dealing with backend and then ReactJS, you can just copy and put elsewhere as I mentioned. So briefly just opening the new folder with the ReactJS as a target. So I am now in my React.js folder, and then by default, the very first thing we need to do is to run npm install to get our packages installed. And at the same time, I'll open the backend. I know I'm just going to open the new terminal, and once I go one level up, I know the backend folder is in the same folder as the MediaSFU. So I'll just go cd /backend, and then I should be hitting the backend. And in this also, I'll do the npm install, which should be pretty fast. And then also do my npm install for my React.js packages to be installed by default. So the React application installation will probably take a bit of time, roughly 2-3 minutes about, or maybe 5 minutes. For the time being, I'm going to use npm start on my backend, which primarily serves my backend. And then this runs on port 3001 by default. So you might want to change it to something different if you want to. I think this has been delayed by the React, so I'm going to wait briefly for that. Alright, I've got my MediaSFU ReactJS packages installed. I'm just going to do npm start. And for those working with the community edition backend, I think by default it's 3000. You might want to run that first, the start on your community edition before you run npm start. Because if you start here and by default it goes 3000 for ReactJS, and then your MediaSFU community edition, the default port will be indicated in this 3000. So it's probably going to just override it and it's going to have an issue. So if you're still dealing with 3000 in your MediaSFU community edition, you want to run that first before you run your React, or you change that to a different port number. Maybe you run or React from a specific port so that you don't have the conflict. So I'm running that on 3005, which I'll show just now. So I'm fine just running npm start on my React for now, so default to 3000. So I just have to run npm start from here. So at the start of our application, we have our welcome page, as demonstrated for the initial case. I'm just going to sign in with one of the profiles. So that's going to be Alex. And in here, we have the option to create a space and join a space and the like. So for now, I'm just going to create a space. I'll just say test no MediaSFU. Because we are here to have MediaSFU incorporated. Now copy the same thing and have it as the description. So just with a disk. If you it's create space, you're gonna have a space here. And by initially you can see there is nothing here that indicates you actually in the meeting room. But it says connected in the status of red, which means you are here to connect to MediaSFU server. Now to have MediaSFU functionality to work, we first need to install MediaSFU ReactJS package. So we are going to make a switch to our app, and what we would like to do is to go to our source or go to components, and then create a new file which we are going to call MediaSFU handler. And then particularly what it does is provides MediaSFU in our interface. So we keep mentioning different file names for MediaSFU. So first thing, we install MediaSFU, then we do the MediaSFU handler file. So I'm just going to stop my application now, and then and a very key note here is that whenever you install MediaSFU, it relies on the peer dependencies to work. So for every point in time, you need to not to use legacy peer debs or do a false installation, else it's going to skip most likely the period depth. So when that happens, you absolutely need that. You can just have to go grab the peer dependencies. You can check on GitHub or you can check on npm the package.json. You're gonna have the peer dependencies in there, and then have them installed as additional things in there. If not, your application is not gonna work. What we normally recommend is for you to use an override. So I minimize this and I go to my SpacesTekFinal application. For example, illustration, I'm gonna grab MediaSFU and then if, for example, you gonna go to the detailed guide, and then in here, if MediaSFU's ReactJS package is conflicting with maybe your TypeScript or whatever dependency, you just override this to match what you need for your application to work instead of using the force or because unless of course your project is at a state that you always rely on that, and then you need to grab the dependencies to put in the big. So let's going to switch back to useful now. So I need to do anything install yes. And this should take some brief moment to install. Once we've installed MediaSFU ReactJS package, next thing we're gonna do is just have a handler, like I mentioned, component. So I'm gonna create a file by doing MediaSFU handler.txt. So in our MediaSFU handler file, we'll basically import our MediaSFU ReactJS and then serve a generic view. There are a couple of options. You could render broadcast, webinar, conference, and the like. I'll just stick to the MediaSFU's generic view. So, which encapsulates every view we ever need currently. So I'll import the generic view from MediaSFU ReactJS. And all I will do now is just to return the generic view. We'll save this. We'll have MediaSFU handler created. What's you can try next is go into space details to use this. So in space details, I'm gonna import our MediaSFU handler from where we exported it. So just this, and somewhere down at the bottom of the page, I'm gonna have and for now, I will just wrap it in the div to make sure that it always shows every time. 100% view and overflow to be shown, and um, we're just gonna return the MediaSFU, and that's it. So with these two, we now have MediaSFU online already. Now I'm gonna run start. So with our updated MediaSFU provided, let's just try criterion. Say um, sure. I'll copy the same thing. Let's make sure. And I'm going over to show. Instead of going out to buttons, this one by default, yes, it is work page. And this is particularly saved when you don't provide a pre-run page. So essentially, you probably go to your credentials elsewhere. But when I mean credentials, you're booking your meeting link and like it. And you are just trying to input it into it. The other option is the scan option. Assuming you have the assuming you have the credentials from the SFC's page, you will have the option to scan and that. So all this so particularly limited application and usage. I'll just provide a quick demo to illustrate what possibly is, and then we'll switch focus to using an actual paging page. So assuming you were to be working with this, you probably have gone to let's say with Sandbox, which is our equivalent of Postman, or basically from your UI. So briefly, let me just demonstrate that. So if you were to go to MediaSFU's Sandbox, which is I mentioned the equivalent of Postman, and you go to something like the rooms sandbox, and particularly these are all the post endpoints supported by MediaSFU in terms of communication. Most of the communication with MediaSFU is over WebSockets in your room. Other than that, if they're working with the domains, event setting, recording, and the like, all are captured in I think about 7 or 8 sandboxes. So a classic example will probably be to I'm gonna just uncheck the meeting parameters and then recording parameters, you get default. If you want to make a change, assuming you want to join a room, delete a room, get a room, whatever you are trying to change, if you make a change and then you hit submit, your output should change accordingly. And then you can just copy this output or use the copy button. And then at the same time, this is also updated in real time if you make the submit run. So you're gonna have like a Node.js curl and then that code that you can just run right away based on the changes you made in the expected payload to the server. So here you have the option to also test the API, and over here you need an API key and API username. If I were not to be logged in, there'll be an option to log in to do this. Particularly, you have 3 API keys, if you don't know that by now, and this is solely of interest for those using MediaSFU Cloud in one way or the other. So if you are using Community Edition, you can completely ignore this. So if I have a paste parameters, if I have my API key and API username, I can just make a run. So for API key and API username, you have 3 options. There's a demo, sandbox, production. By default, production only works with specific domains, which you have to pre-register. Demo, you can never make a request with the demo. It's only limited to MediaSFU's internal usage if you are creating this demo room. And then the sandbox is what you particularly just use without a domain, and then you can send via a post request. So you grab your API key. Mostly, if you want to edit this, you just hit edit. There's an active or inactive state indicator. You can just toggle this anytime you want, so any how you want. Then there is a view button, there is a copy button, and then there's a cycle button. Basically, just generate a new API key on the go. So if I hit this, I'm gonna have a new API key. If I hit this, I'm gonna hit this, I'll have a new API key, which you get limited after point. So and with my API key and API username, which I'll demonstrate briefly, I can make a request and then get the details I need to compilate the form I was just showing initially. So I'm gonna head back to my sandbox. So in my sandbox now, I'll switch this to just a create request, for example, or it's example as I'll check off everything and then run this. I'll copy this. Sometimes there's a conflict with when you have a lot of sandboxes open, so I like to copy directly from the window as opposed to the copy button here. Then I'm gonna paste this here. So when I run this, I instantly have a room created. For the details, if I scroll this, you have a public URL. You can just copy this link and paste in your browser. It will just take you directly to the room. This public URL. There's a secure code. This you have to provide to the host coming into the room. If I want to go to MediaSFU front page now and enter as the host, it's going to ask me for the secure code as the host. The room name you need and everything you need to the secret to input manually. Here I'm not going to dwell on that for now, but then just an illustration. You're going to put in the secret, your name, and then the event ID, basically the room name, your display name which you use, and then the event link. It's provided in the detail over there. And second option is to scan a QR code. Also to illustrate that briefly. So if I am to create, I go to events and I go to hit create events. And then I go to the option to start a new meeting, and I just pick a name, and I hit confirm. I'm gonna have an option to scan. And this is particularly for sandbox and production room, so you don't get this from the mobile application. So if I have this, I'm gonna have the option to scan, which I can just go straight to my app and then scan that, and I can proceed to the room. So yeah, that's technical. If you don't have an account, you just hit the slash login on the page. Mostly you can just continue with Google, GitHub, the popular links. Other than that, you want to enter your email and details manually, you can just go to the sign up page to do that. So I'm going to switch focus. So the application I want to use a present page because it's super limited. So let's just quickly go to the present page and proceed. So I'm going to end this from here. And my application, my MediaSFU handler, all I need to do is to indicate I'm using a present page. So so and if I have a present page, I'm just gonna pass the present page into my application. So my present page, and when I run this, if we go back to our interface, and then we're going to test present page, then I'm going to copy this and say test present page details. I hit this. You're gonna have the option to do switch to create or join room. just because we have passed the pigeon page into our MediaSFU handler. Now, going forward, I will demonstrate briefly how to join the room, and then it will be one of three things: whether you are using Community Edition, MediaSFU thing solely, or you are using MediaSFU Community Edition added. You are using cloud as an egress point, so when it's an AI agent or recording the like, you will know that. And then the last option would be for those who are solely dependent on MediaSFU cloud. They don't have their own MediaSFU Community Edition running. So to do that, I'll go in three steps in that order. If you don't have MediaSFU Community Edition, you're solely running for cloud. It means you don't really have to worry about those things. But then, just as an illustration, discover that for those who are mostly uh, importantly interested in the very first part, as in Community Edition. So, and and the whole logic is how to get MediaSFU in your app, and then configure your credentials which you require. So let's start with our Community Edition, and then to do that, if you haven't configured, or if you're using that and you need that and you have it already configured, but the Community Edition, you can look up the video on setting up MediaSFU the Community Edition, and have it running. So I'll use that to connect locally for now. You have to just do that. We highly recommend it to do that. So I'm going to switch to my application, and then I'll define a local link that's technically for all what I need for my application. So I need to pinpoint to my application to where my localhost is running, and my app is running on port 3005. In this case, by default, it's 3000. So depending on whether you run React first or the backend, the MediaSFU open first, you want to be sure that that MediaSFU open, if you haven't changed from 3000, it's not overriding the port of the React. So here it's going to be 3005 for me. That's my local link. And I'll just demonstrate briefly that it's currently running at that time. So I need my wishref. And all I need to do is to pass my local link to minutes of uniform. So I'll just change this to incorporate the local link that I'm using now. So and then my next parameter is connect MediaSFU. By default, connect MediaSFU is true, which means I'm connecting both to my local instance and then my MediaSFU cloud. If you're not using MediaSFU cloud, which I'm going to start it as false, you need to pass this as false. If you're not using local Community Edition, you don't need local link, and by default it defaults to true. You don't need to even call it, but you can just pass it and pass true if you want to be sure. So by default, Community Edition only, you need to pass Connect MediaSFU as false. So if I run this, I can go to my browser, and I'm going to show you where my Community Edition is running. This as a indication. If I go to localhost, start, you're going to see that I have my application running over here. Now, play from here. What I would like to do is just put a room on local instance and see how it goes. So we will test this local instance. Now I'll do a disk. So I hit create room. Create space rather, sorry. I come to the interface where I can actually create a room. So here I'll go to create a room, and then I need some data. So I'm going to just take this. I'm going to take 18 and 5, and then we're going to view. And then depending on the view you are rendering, you want to seek the proper view here, like I mentioned. So through here, I generate take care of everything. So takes care of everything. So if I hit create room, I have a run to cross check. If I hit this, I'm gonna have an M tag. If you're in MediaSFU local edition, community edition, your room names always start with M, unless in the case that you are combining with cloud or you're using cloud solely. So cloud is either D starts with either D, S, or P. S for sandbox, P for production, and D is for demo. You never get D in the SDK because you can only use the demo room from our sample illustration online. So it's either you're on S, starts with S, or P to make sure you're actually on MediaSFU. And if you are combining MediaSFU with, community edition with cloud, you want to make sure it's actually working. Then you do need the SMP to appear, else you're just on the local instance. So with this, I can copy the link and by default, you notice a breakage in UI, which doesn't really concern us or interest us. We shouldn't be enforcing or fixing this in here, but then for demonstration purposes, we are just gonna have it in here. And then here, if I paste this, I can see it's a valid link now, and I can use the new name. Let me join here. Um, so for example, I check the participants, I'm gonna have the new name and the hosts. So every logic that works should just apply here. Just the displays what you have to do. So if I turn on my video, I should be able to see the same thing on this side. Okay, so technically that's basically how you get your MediaSFU Community Edition to configure it. Now the very next step is we go one step for those who would like to communicate with Cloud in addition, and then this just involves passing in credentials and turning on connect MediaSFU to true. So because you are going to talk with MediaSFU, you need your credentials. So I'm going to end this just now. So we can, I'm still going to end this from here. We can go back to our MediaSFU handler. And in here, we are going to pass credentials. And now the basic logic of MediaSFU open community edition is that you don't really need to pass your actual credentials. It's programmed in a way that whenever you create a room with community edition in combination with the cloud, whatever dummy credentials you pass from here, it gets intercepted by your server, unless of course you make the change. But then currently it will get intercepted and it will replace your dummy credentials in the UI here because of security reasons with the actual one at the backend. So here I'm just going to put in some credentials, and I can get the credentials from the package, and then from here I need to pass the credentials here, and then I need to pass connect me as true. Essentially, I need a dummy to be able to connect. Without a dummy, it's not going to be able to connect to MediaSFU Cloud. But then the dummy doesn't really get sent by default because of open. Now, if you're using MediaSFU Cloud solely, which we don't have a local edition to connect to, that's going to be a different case, which we'll get to in the next case. So here, I need a 64 characters API key, and then at least it's alphanumeric username. And if I go back to my application, you're going to see test local and lab. I'm going to copy the same thing. Let's add a description. So if I hit create space, now in here, what's going to happen is I'm going to create a row, and I'm going to use same details. And for a sure check to make sure this actually works, let's check the meeting ID. So we see it starts with S. Basically, it means it's connected to MediaSFU Cloud. Now we can check this. Let's check this. So first, let's try to connect to this locally as well. it exists locally, and then I'm gonna say new name. So we have this, and we have that. If I start my media, I should be able to see everything. Um, so here I can see the new name. If I turn on the media, I should be able to access it here. Now, so to just make sure this actually also exists on MediaSFU Cloud, I'm gonna go to uh, MediaSFU.com, /start. Now paste the link. We confirm. And you do realize that it's an actual link that comes up. Let me see, my name is tester. Then if I hit join, I have the option to go and scan and then or continue with this link. And by default, the approach of connecting the two uses the option of just send the media only to MediaSFU. So if I join this meeting from this end, I'm not going to be able to see anybody because I don't have an endpoint to watch what's happening. It's just for you to join there, whatever you produce, goes to MediaSFU. And then if we need to record or we need to do an agent or something, you do it from that end. So in the system setup for connecting MediaSFU with MediaSFU Cloud, we assume everything is happening locally for you, and the stuff that don't happen locally are forwarded to MediaSFU to be handled. So you don't that pay is not going to give you an endpoint to watch or see what's happening in the just production only one-way traffic. So let me just end this and close. I'm gonna leave this on for now. Now back to setup for those who will be working with MediaSFU Cloud only. It means one, you don't have a local link, so you're gonna get rid of that. But then, because you don't have a local link, you need to pass your actual credentials because there's nothing to intercept that. So you do an actual credentials and then you remove our local link. And another key thing is that I'll start in 2 steps. There is an option to pass a custom function to do the interception for you. Uh, so that you don't have to. So basically, if you're developing, you can use your API keys, your UI without an issue. But then if you're in production, you want to secure that. And also, MediaSFU to an extent restricts requests for domains from from production keys from specific domains, but that is just for production keys. So at least we do a protection to an extent, but still we want to secure that. So I'll start off with just looking at the dev context where you just using your API key in the app, and which is the actual ones. And then the next stage will be when you're using something else, and then you want to intercept with a specific function, and then forward the request to MediaSFU your own. So let's just start with the very first case of. Let's just start with the very first case of you having your API keys in your environment. So let's switch to my.env. For now, we don't really have anything in our .env that points to credentials. I'm going to put to the method with this username and then API key, and you have to update this to your correct values. I'm just using the same stuff from the handler. So this should be the actual value they'll be sent as they are to MediaSFU endpoint. So with this, you probably need to restart your app. But then in the app now, I'll read up these two values as opposed to reading the dummy credentials from here. So I'll read the dot, I'll read the API key, and then the API is adding from the environment variable. Well, you have to update it. So I'll go off screen and then change this and return to the UI. And key parts before I do that is we lose the local link. We are not using the local link. We are just relying solely on, you don't need a local link, you need to connect yourself. It's by default true. So I have to click it, but then you don't really need it. So, oh, I'll restart the application with the new env values, which is my actual credentials, and hopefully you also do the same at your end. Restart, with our actual credentials captured from the .env. I'm gonna close the old app and then this is right. Now from here, we'll just create a space and then I'm gonna say test cloud only. And then copy this, reduce and give us this option. Then I'm gonna create space. So from here, would want to seek to create more than use to host it. So now if I hit create space, I should have my meeting created. So one more check, we want to make sure it's actually something that is let's check of S. Okay. Now you're gonna check on our local setup that we can join this. So if I go in here and I paste this, but it's confirmed, instantly you have this the event type it does not use. So basically this doesn't exist on our local system. We can join this. But then if you go to MediaSFU.com, MediaSFU.com, wait and start on this and it's confirmed. It works. If it doesn't, it's gonna pop an error. So I'm gonna use the name new one. If I hit join, and then I proceed to join the browser, in my app, I could have an event like you want to join those some limit. And then if I do something from here, probably say turn on my camera, I should be able to have that in my application being served on MediaSFU.com. So essentially, you create just a cloud only option without your local instance. Okay, so then we are gonna go back again and then go to the protection of your API key. So basically, how do we find a convenient way to still send a dummy credential and then we intercept the post request that's meant to send the payload to MediaSFU.com. Then we change that to our own private details in some kind of backend and then forward to MediaSFU.com and then return what we call the response from there. So I'm gonna end this from here and then close this. From let's end this point. And then from my in the MediaSFU handler, you can do one of two things. So MediaSFU expect a function from you, which you are gonna pass, and then you just allow it to say, okay, I'm gonna get the request coming from to a specific endpoint, and then do something else. So just quick view, and just take a look at this. So in this case, for example, I'm just gonna have to have all the types come from the package, and then yeah, basically we create a function, or you can start off with the generate MediaSFU join upload function. If you look at MediaSFU's docs, and all we are doing is we define the custom link, which is the server.com/group join endpoints, and we are saying that whatever payload that comes from which MediaSFU is going to send to for us or to us, we're going to get a payload, and then so you got a push request at your endpoint with payload and everything that is meant to go to MediaSFU.com. So from here you can just change the API username because these are dummies passed that we will need to put in the proper before you send to MediaSFU.com. So for an illustration of what actually happens with MediaSFU Community Edition, I'm gonna copy the link, the code for what happens at the back end of MediaSFU communication. There is a join or create room endpoint for your case of illustration. We have this for that, and then we verify a couple of temporary credentials which MediaSFU Community Edition gives you to make sure this is actually from one endpoint. Then afterwards, you have these actual values in your .env from MediaSFU Community Edition. So in your env, you have these actual values that it reads as the actual API user and API key at the backend, and then it sends the actual request to MediaSFU.com. The only thing it changes, the same payload comes through. It uses that. The only thing it changes is it changes the API username and then API key to be the actual ones so that it sends the correct credentials. Or it's just going to send the dummy one. So, and then it just returns the response to us. So, let me get rid of this. So with this tool, you're going to do something similar. And if you define such a function, I'll just get rid of this and then just paste a simple one. And in my case, I'm just console logging this so that you have an idea that it actually came to us before proceeding. So I'll get rid of this, and then all I'm doing is I'm intercepting the request. I'm just forwarding it straight to MediaSFU.com, no changes, because I'm still using my actual credentials. And then I'm just console logging it so that you know at least we can intercept the request. And then because I'm using this, MediaSFU accepts your custom function to create or join. So it will be create MediaSFU room. Then this will be a function. If you know the one for join as well, you need to define that. And basically, you can use the same endpoint. Then the payload just differs for join and create. So with this tool, with a create function, and then the passing of that into our MediaSFU generic, we should be able to intercept the request, and then we'll show that in the browser as the payload. So let's go to our endpoint, and then put a new space, and we'll say test secure credentials. Here, I'm going to copy the same thing, and I'm going to copy it as disk, and I hit create space. So in here, I'm going to create switch to create mode. I'm going to use some data, so maybe some another T here, so I replace this amount, maybe 10, and then webinar, and then maybe 4. So I hit create room. Let me just minimize the screen for now. So function. So if you check your console log, you're gonna have this thing, which is the create general room, where we console logging from our MediaSFU handler, and it says the action and then the stuff that was sent to MediaSFU. So that shows that we actually have our function being implemented by the SDK. Okay, so that's effect, and everything should also work as usual, as yesterday in the very best case. So now we've finalized our setup for incorporating MediaSFU and then having our credentials working. So let me just end this event first, and then I'm gonna end the space. Okay, so now going forward, we don't really care about MediaSFU's UI. We don't want the UI in there. You just want your own UI, but then your access to media and then sending media and the like. So in that case, you need to do a return UI of false. And I will stick to using the community edition, which means I'll get rid of the API keys, I'll get rid of the credentials, and then just stick to local link, going for it as an illustration. So we'll proceed to use MediaSFU, but then without the UI returned, just without just blank UI from MediaSFU. So let's go to our program. Now I'm gonna just clear everything with the question and stuff. And with the all of this, particularly then with the next page also. Like I mentioned, this is here solely going to be on local link, so I'll get rid of it as well. Fine, so I'm gonna apply local link, and then this is going to be false. Essentially, I don't know if we do chance for now. So, guys. Okay, so by default, I'm back to my UI without um, just using local link. Skip this as the setup designs. And now for no return UI, the only parameter we need is return UI to be false. So essentially, because of that, we don't get plugin. So once you have the plugin page, you need to provide the information that would have been gathered by the plugin page. So if to create a room, I would have needed a create room parameters or general parameters. So whatever information you would need for MediaSFU, I'll just include the parameter for no UI parameters. And essentially, um, essentially, these are what on which you pass to yourself directly so that when you put one, you also take space and then use that for creating a web. So the classic creates parameter to contributor. So to put is action required, duration required, is to record any name type or something and the image you can run and then pin type. So at least you know this type parameters. The extra options like recording parameters, using parameters, or associating with sandbox, and then if you are using AI agents, you make some things like data buffer and then what type of data buffer, whether it's images, audio, and the like. So this is a classic parameter to join the room, and then sorry, to create a room, and then for joining, it's technically just three parameters. You need three variables. You need that action, which is a join action, and then the username, whatever name it is, and then the exact meeting ID, which would have been created already. That you are joining. So these three you absolutely need for creating this pipe at least, and then other details that you would like to pass. So, and then for new UI mode, to eliminate the chance of an overflow, probability that there might be an overflow, I'm going to wrap this in div so width and height to be absolutely sure it's not going to overflow. And then the parameters that I have, which is the MLUM, I'm going to pass it to this, and then it's defined in the MediaSFU generic as no pre-join options and to be the current value. If you're not so sure, you can just import MediaSFU generic options, and then which will guide you past the listening. So with these values, when I go back to my event room, you won't visually see anything, but then I can confirm to you that, oh, it doesn't exist. It's a new space. There's no written UI. And then I want to copy the same thing and see that is the description. And then, oops, it's lowercase. So if I hit the create and I go there, it doesn't exist, but it auto created a room. I can confirm from my local server, I mean my community edition server. And that basically shows you that you have your room created. But then, how do we progress to use this? So, how do we get the things we would have gotten in the MediaSFU room if we were to be rendering it? So that's when MediaSFU requires you to pass your source parameters and then your update source parameters. So those are two key things that MediaSFU will take from you, and then you have a synchronized state with the actual application. So let me just end this in the space which confirm it was created, which you can see. And then we go to our MediaSFU details where we'll be using the actual room, and then create two parameters. We just use a reference, a useref to create an object, and then an update parameter for the object, and then we work a way to pass it to MediaSFU handler so that we get it passed to MediaSFU generic to keep us updated regarding what our next state, all those sort of things. So let's just switch to our MediaSFU handler and space detail. So in here we need a kind of an object which we can use to click on the state, and I'm gonna need it source parameters as expected. So and basically it's a bunch of key and values which we don't even know what they are, unless of course we look at to probably about how and it's a function basically talking about update it to your current value. So I'm just gonna call it as update source parameters. So essentially we just make a check between the current source parameter towards the ultimate value to update, and then you want to keep it as simple as possible. You don't want to run a lot of logic in this update source parameters. Just keep it simple. You update the parameters, and then maybe add another listener to effect changes in your UI, which I will do subsequently. So basically just simple update of the frequency. And just keep it as what's supposed to state listener to stop necessary render. Now I'm gonna create an extra parameter which I'll say this is what helps me make changes and then reflect it in my UI. So I'm gonna call it source change and then implement this. So in here, once I have that, so this will mention this to I'll have a listener to listen to changes in this source change. So somewhere I'm gonna have a listener that's gonna tell me if source change or not. So use it first, and then let me just close it first, and then it's gonna be depending on source in here. If source change, there should be more than one key. By default, there's nothing in source change, but then there should be at least one key in source change. And if we have truly connected to a MediaSFU room, there will be a room name which is in blank. So you combine these two checks. The object's length or the key's length should be at least more than 0, and then there should be it's an empty limit in the parameters, because sometimes you try to find having cells and it's the only states. So maybe the system might be template. So I'm gonna say if the keys are greater than 0, let's say because like that change, then the room is not an empty limit. And then for now I'll just console log the source and this change in that single branch of log, but then this is only I just sent a message says change current so I believe the just make us aware of what has happened visually. So we need to find a way to pass this to MediaSFU handler, and in MediaSFU handler now we are going to define a new prop which technically takes care of handling this. So it takes a look at what we need for creator join and other optional things to go in order you're placing a joining. We usually don't need these two for joining the room, that is optional, and then we need usually need the name every time, and then the meeting ID is only required for joining option. Now we have our source parameters and update source parameters. So if the current changes, we just change that. So programmatically fixing this parameter that we are going to make use of. Okay, so essentially, where to join a meeting based on the parameter path, and then whether it's join of code, just use only the relevant path. So some of here, so the issue, not a good have. I'm going to have a new check, basically checks the action. Here, let's go to run. It's a code option. I made some codes and created codes, which is action duration. So the last time we it's join, we actually need a weekend ID. We don't have one through an error. And there are only three things we need for joining a meeting. So let's use this one. And use it to pass as we go. Now the last new things we have now is source parameters, and then source parameters, source parameters. So this is going to be update source parameters. So we have source parameters, update source parameters, and then we have the option to programmatically do what you are going to do. We are going to create a join. Okay. So now we have to go back to MediaSFU handler. Sorry, we have to go back to space details and then make use of that. So in space details, in our MediaSFU handler imports, we import the ports as well. So in here, we create a state, which I'm going to say, I'm going to show you details. So basically, what are the details we are passing to the recipe handler? So I'll say stream details, and it's going to use the production now, and then you can do that. So we have this two. So we have the resource planning, and we're showing it's going to we want to pass two media SFU. So that's a test out part of running data and asking like what are you using in the first place. So instead of now, I'm gonna pass some values into this. So I'll probably put this below this because I'm relying on its parameters. So somewhere with this. So option this initial values are this, which means we can just split away with this, split away, and then we have the source parameter where this parameter is going to the video SFU on the left. Okay, so now that you have this, we have to update the return, the UI to use this. So let's go straight to where we have the handler. Now we need the deconstruct the current props, and then we have our showroom details, briefly. So check this must be now. So let's make sure it's not now. Okay. So finally, we have our showroom details, which we programmed here, being passed to the handler, and we have our own being created. So let's just do this. And just once more, as a note, we just keep track of what we have so that we make sure you understand this. So we have a new name as a demo. So at least you're going to see a new name when you put it. So when I save this, we should have a room created on MediaSFU. Let's go back to our UI. Just join the test. So So you're going to see it says it's chilling. We're going to move eventually. Right. So, post, post, check that bunch of parameters. So function, back, I'm going to grab this meeting ID and then go check, connect locally to the room. This to make sure to indicate that we actually have on this here. So local release. Okay. It's valid. I'll use the one. Use the one there. Jump. You see all this. What do you mean? So practically, yes, we can join the meeting and then you can see the post, but anything I do from here, you don't really experience it from the whole side because um, we are not we are not paying attention to the media, and you can even send the media from here currently. So I'll just it's just a double. Uh, so let me just close this. So just here. Also putting the space and it should still run to spaces. Okay, so briefly now we need to do two things. We need to pay attention to the things we care about, and then the things you can use in video as our use case currently. So these are when you're on the other side, and you need to get that video. Like that ability to click or click on video, click video, it's on live in camera in the light. So to do that, we switch to our component again, and our state indicator, whether we are connected, we need to change that as well. Now, when we switch to our application, in space details, I want to update the state of the meeting room. So right above here, if we are connected, we want to actually set connected to true. So if you watch the initial illustration, if you change the connected, set connected to true, we have access to the media controls. So we want to change the first thing here to be, I'm gonna lose the console log. And then I'm saying if we are not connected, we want to change the connected to true. So it means I'm gonna use this connected as a dependency here. And once we have that, we should have the UI display the control buttons for the which is dependent on it's connected. So just a quick check if you go down, you have a bunch of combined controls dependent on this. So I'll go back here. Now, once we have the controls in there, we need to actually have the logic to turn on mic and turn on camera and the like. So to do that, we can roughly in the current context import MediaSFU's commands for that. So I will just go to somewhere here and then by default, click the name, click video, click audio, click screen, and then click chat. All those names mean something in MediaSFU. So if I import click audio, which is the function to trigger camera and mic, and then it takes the props of click audio options, I should be able to run this down. Now, we are just going to do one thing. Let's look at our currently, we don't have the support to do mic transmission. So in currently just a blank function. So in here, let's call the sorry, let's call the function immediately. So media click audio options. it just requires what we call parameters as input. So I'm going to say const. And in here, I'll call these options, which is click all the options. And then the only thing we need is parameters. If you hover by this, it's probably going to show you. So we're going to need the current source parameters we have in this class, everything in here as a click for the options and then parameters. So that's all we need from our system. And and I'm gonna do a wait. Click all the options and a passing option. So technically, whatever states variables we have from our source parameters, which is in sync, we are gonna get the same path. So click audio. You don't want to care about specifying exact things. You can just pass everything as it is to it. So this should give us the functionality to click audio. Now, by the same way, for video, we can bring in what we call click video. So what we call click video, and there's click video options. Video options, and you can run this from here. But first, we can just make a check. It's much more easier to perceive the visual feed. So let me just change this to, instead of click audio, I'm gonna run it. Just for now, I'm gonna run click video, and then so that you can see the camera is actually being transmitted. So then it's gonna be the days third parts also being downloaded elsewhere. So okay, so we have this tool now. We have click video running, and in our meeting room, in our interface, if you do create new space and then you say test media integration, over here is a description. Create a space. Now, so far as it's updated to connected, we will have the button show. Okay, so all its mic indicator, we just change it to video so we can link see what's happening. So in here, I'm gonna go there and then I'll copy and paste the link. So paste this here, confirm, and then join as a so as usual, we have the most estimating said what's needed. So now from here, if I click my and then mine, so you see the camera trigger comes in and it's running. So if I go in here, you're going to see camera food coming through. Now, if I do something from the USBS video, I'm not going to see any change happening here. But then I'll turn this off again. So that means on again, we're not listening to any changes. So it still says 10 minutes, that it's working here. So if I hit this again, we should turn it off. We shouldn't have overflow. So practically, we do the same thing for the audio and video, and we're gonna have the video, audio, and video transmission ongoing. Okay, so that's how you get a trigger. If it is screen share, you need you bring the same thing, same logic. So it's basically screen share, audio, video. It is primarily what's you need to call and use accordingly. Now, how about entering the media from the other side? How do I get it here? Essentially, we don't have that. So to do that, we'll start off roughly with how MediaSFU implement it it's UI. So in MediaSFU's UI, if you pay attention to the flow, uh, let's go to pay attention to the dummy illustration here. Um, the views. I'm just trying to grab a word another videos that was gonna be, but then um, it's a bunch of grids, a mini grid, a bunch of mini grids. This is a mini grid, another mini grid, and then for the further you could have so basically prime numbers like 5 and above, anything divisible by one itself, and then the value one. We always try to maintain a perfect grid. So if it's like 7 videos, you're gonna have a 2 by 2, and then you're gonna have a 3 videos at the end. It's like maybe 11. Just gets a common factor. You have maybe a 3 by 3. Then you have a 2 at the end. So think of it. So always there's a perfect display if you opt to have that, and then there's going to be a media grid 1, media grid 2. I'll just show you in the code now how it's implemented, and then there's also like so it's basically either you're on the main display, so it's a main grid, and then mini grids, one or two of mini grids. So for the main grid, technically for broadcasting, there's a vertical view shows that there's only one host who is broadcasting. Everybody else is just watching. So that's this classic simplest view, which just a main grid displayed, which is shown as an example with the controls for the host. Everybody else just sees a minimal interaction. Um, if you switch from broadcast, well, probably the second view is a chat view. So a chat view is just two people who are communicating, and there's no recording or other stuff. So a chat view is just one of the mini grids displayed with two views. And then you move from the chat view, there's webinar conference. A conference view, most of the times, it's just mouse look like this, which is primarily a bunch of mini grids, one first mini grid and second mini grid, and then at every point in time, it's maximized for such display. When there's a screen share trigger, then the main grid comes in. So the main grid only plays a role of showing the host's video, which is in the case of the broadcast. Yeah, we come to the context of the webinar. The host video is always on the main view when there is nothing to occupy the main view. So if not for the host main video, the other options are whiteboard and then screen share. So when the screen share is triggered and the whiteboard is triggered, it automatically occupies the main grid. Then the host gets shifted to um, the side, just like the rest. So it's either you are on a webinar view where the host is almost always on the main grid, or you're on a conference view where everybody is on the same grid. But then once you trigger screen share, the screen share, you pull in um, the main grid, and then it puts in the whiteboard, puts it in there. So technically, that's all you have for the code. And then in terms of some sample flow, I'm just going to quickly try and grab the flow of everything. There's a bunch of state parameters. You're not really they are dependent on media. I mean, it's actually dependent on, so you shouldn't really worry about that. But other than that, it's a bunch of models, which we recording model messages and a whole lot. Confirm here, confirm share, and that model. And then the key UI part in rendering is so here, for instance, you have a main container which sizes the screen and the main aspect component. Also the parent for the main screen component. So in the main screen component, your main grid basically it's assured as a flexible video. It's normally just one video, the screen share whiteboard or the host video at a point in time. And then here, because it's a broadcast, we have a bunch of control buttons touch, which is rendered. And then that's all. This is just the broadcast screen. And then the audio grid here, that plays the audio. Essentially, just the host audio, which this is a broadcast screen sample, which everybody listens to. So if this is a broadcast stream, if you were to look at a generic stream, you are going to get the same thing, but then you're going to get a stack of two flexible grids on the mini grid, which we don't have anywhere. So you technically just pay attention to that and have in case you're editing, you're doing something, how you want to play around with that. So and here I just need the audio grid, which I'm going to paste in my app, because we are dealing with audio spaces. All I care about is the audio grid for now. So, um, and maybe just as an illustration, I'll put the flexible grid as well. Like I mentioned, that house is for these mini videos uh, to provide a view. So let's look at the, I'll need to import first on this. Somewhere right above this, I'm going to put, I'll put an audio grid as implemented. Then a flexible, so for this on audio grid. So this is again I'm gonna have what I call a flexible grid, which is basically one of the new grids. So I'm gonna say this is a good grid. And and this is just straight out from MediaSFU rendering. And we'll just have to change a couple of things to match what's happening here. And um, by default, because this renders an audio on the grid, so we need to have a state sync with this actual value. So we have to do that. And then also this renders the key component is other grid streams. So we also have a listener to that so that we have a local reference and then we update that to match. So with with the values in here, I'll just change to some kind of values because MediaSFU's basis for computation is might be way wider and break the screen like we are having also. Yeah, I'm not gonna use any specific value. I'll just say like a 400, height maybe 300. Um, now, let me just get the references for these two, then we change them. So, I'll define two. These are JSX elements. So, and then by default, you say this render is flexible grid is supposed to be two stacks, one in the other. This render the first part, and then there's the other part. So, I'll go up and then create a state reference to for what we are missing. So showroom details. I'm gonna go to showroom details and then somewhere here, maybe just so I'll create an all room audios reference and then an all room videos reference. So and then all room audios is just one array, one list, and all room videos is two lists. Like I mentioned, it's either you have a perfect square or perfect display, and then for prime numbers issue, you have a second part. You might have more than one of that. So all room videos is two arrays, so two rows. Now we need to sync, we need to listen to changes in this variable. So when we have our source change, when we have our source change, we need to check if there is actually something we can get. So in here, I'm gonna paste two listeners. So basically, if the source changes, which I've shown that by default is rendered as only streams from MediaSFU, it's not equal to our current value, we update that to that. Then we do the same for the videos. So other grid streams values, let's use there, and then we update this to this. So basically, these two gives us all the audios in the room, and then this gives us the videos, just the videos on the mini grid, not the main grid. So down here, we're not going to use this as that value. So we are going to use our local reference, which is supposed to be all room videos, the current, I mean, for the audios. For the videos, For the number of rows, I'm just going to have that dependent on the first. There isn't enough videos or audios I'm going to display for it to extend beyond the first, what's the name? First grid. So I'm going to use 1 rows. And then for the number of columns, this is just going to be the length of the very first part. I'm sure I'm not going to hit the second part. So then the components to render to is going to be that. And we just need to have the import of the two, flexible grid and an audio grid. So we go up to our MediaSFU ReactJS and then have audio grid. Audio grid and then flexible grid. Okay, so now with this tool we can listen to media in our space, and then we can watch rendered video. We can watch other media from elsewhere. So let's go and verify this. So quickly, I'm gonna hit my bench room, and then um, I think I need to save something. Okay, so there's no background there. And then let me just reload this. So I'm just gonna make sure it's not an empty array. So let's just first make sure this is an empty reference. So before we display flexible grid, we just make sure it's not empty. So I'm gonna put this for here and make sure at least it's not empty. Okay, now that should fix our problem. And back to our UI. I think I'll just end this and then let's go back and create a new space. So I'll say test media reception. Now say test media reception, this description. Then sorry, I'm going to create first, and then I will need a meeting ID. So I'll copy that. And somewhere in here, I'm gonna paste and then use the name. More name. So okay, so in summary, you can see like there's the first view host view, which is primarily the same view when you come to MediaSFU. But then for your understanding of this, at least you should have an perception of what MediaSFU renders. So this, and then if I turn on my media from here, you're gonna see like the media here, and then everything works here as you expect. Toggle, this is host control to turn off users video, or you can turn somebody's audio when it is off, but then at least you can turn it off when it is on. If I go in here and then I turn off my, okay, let me just turn on my mic now. Sorry, let me just, I turn on my mic now. I should have like the state change in the mic, which is the green, and then the animation for the intensity in there. If I turn off my video, so you should see just the audio card being displayed, which is no video, just audio, and then this happening. So essentially that completes rendering media from elsewhere. And like I say, if I turn off the user's mic now, basically the person has been stopped from using the audio. So practically everything you expect should work accordingly as expected from the MediaSFU handler. So now we go on to fine tune the context of SpacesTek, which we are dealing with audio. We do a cleanup, and then we isolate the functions call to a new hooks part, which we for a function to use MediaSFU video. So we remove every function there, and then we clean up the UI so that we just have what we need to display next. So I'm just gonna end this space. Okay, so let's proceed and go to our file and do our cleanup. So the very first thing we want to do is to create a hooks folder and then create a specific function that's just going to handle everything that has to do with click audio, click video, and then like basically call of functions from MediaSFU. So I'll create a hooks folder and then I'll create a use file by name user MediaSFU. Make a user for MediaSFU. Sorry. So um in here I'm gonna source code, I'm gonna create hooks and hooks. I'll create a file by name use audio video SDK TS. This will just contain a name. And in here, every function that's key to us, things like you need the ability to disconnect the MediaSFU and the like. We are gonna just have them all rendered in here. So the very first thing we need is, for example, the click video and click audio options. So like I mentioned, for SpacesTek, we need how to disconnect because now when we leave the space, we don't really disconnect from the MediaSFU. It's still running, so we need to fix that. Then two things like the host turning off users media if you want to access the remote control, and then by default the click video that we implemented, you can have that as well. Then also to remove user, you remove user locally, but you can still remove user on the MediaSFU endpoint. So we do these default functions to start off with. So the very first thing we are gonna take a look at is our disconnect function and then the click function and the rest. So to do that, we'll define a couple of props. The very first one is basically simple prop to use with SDK, and then it's going to be dependent on the source parameters that we need, and then this is also absent from an optional device ID. Then the very next prop I'm gonna call MediaSFU media control props. Basically, when you want to control the media of a user, you need to specify which of these you are controlling. So with these two props, let's start to create our function. So now we're gonna export the function from here called toggle audio. And in toggle audio, what we have is our same implementation of toggle click audio from the other endpoint. But then we make a couple of checks. First, we make a check to make sure that we absolutely have the source parameters that we need, because else you're gonna throw an error. Then, so I'm gonna say this is toggle audio, and same as the very first part, we need an option. So click on the options, and then this is just going to be the parameters as parameters. Let's go to source parameters as click on the options parameters. Okay, so then we await and run the command, and if you don't have that, it's not going to run. So if you're gonna catch the error for toggling, and that completes our toggle audio. Basically the same thing as we have. The same way we can just do toggle video like we use. So I can just copy this again. Nothing's been changed. Just the click. So this is going to be, for example, toggle video. So same way, you're gonna have a check for the parameters, and then instead of click audio, this is going to be click video options. And then this has click video options, and then we await click video. So this is going to be await click video. And same way this comes from our package. Everything we need should have a camel case as the function, and then the options as a on a package. So with this we can we can have toggle video, but I don't really need it. So I'll get rid of okay, so we need a catch part, and then complete our toggle video, but I don't really need it. So let me get rid of this function, but just as demonstration. So same with screen and the like, you can get them in here. Now another key thing for us is how to restrict media, and this probably will show an advanced usage of MediaSFU option. So to restrict media, to probably turn off somebody's media, we need the source parameters, we need the remote member, which is the name of the person you're trying to restrict the media for the media tab, whether it's audio, video, and the like. So, and from here, also same way we need to check the source parameters, left for the source parameters. We are no more doing click video stuff. And also we just want to make sure whoever is doing the action is the host. So in MediaSFU, the host has an is level of 2. So for a quick check, a host once the source parameters is level of equal to 2. If not, you're gonna throw an error that's show indication. Nobody else has that is level. It's either 1 or 0. I mean, string of 1 or 0. So next, the exact equivalence of restricted media on MediaSFU is control media options. Or this is something you probably have to work through to understand every part. So, but then we restrict use media using restrict use. Control media options, which we'll just import that briefly. So I'm going to import this, which means the function is control media. So I'm going to lose the video part now. I can just do control media. So, and in here, this technically has a bit of requirement, but then at the end of the day, most of the things come out from the source parameter. So the very first check is, if you look at control media options, let me just start off with building our options. It says, so if you the control media options, if you click on this control click, you're gonna have requirement for participant ID, participant name, and the participant, as well as type socket and the whole bunch of information from here. Most of this automatically just comes from the source parameters. You just read and pass the same value, so you don't have to really worry about that. The only key thing we read from here uniquely is who the participant is, so that we can pass the name and ID as shown on the part. So by default, our SpacesTek, we send an ID of the user to match the name on MediaSFU. So from here, I'm gonna do we're going to look in source parameters for participants in MediaSFU, and I'm saying I'll look for the participants. There's a participants type. I'm just going to put it quickly, and I'm looking at the participants with the same name as your remote member, as your remote member, which it was like an ID we sent. So whose name is the remote member? And I need to bring participants from here. And from here, you just have to populate everything else. Now I'll just copy and paste this, and essentially whatever we read for the participant, or if we don't find the participant, we throw an error. I'm just gonna put that in, but then the participant ID is in here. The participant name is passed as the participant to grab name. The media type we are controlling comes from here, and then socket, everything else that is required by default to just read it from the source parameters. And we have an option. So now, if we don't get a participant, we just show an error. So from here, we just call await control media, and then we pass in options. and effectively we have an option to restrict media. Now we can try out disconnection from we can try out our disconnection as well as our removal of a user from a room. So now to disconnect from MediaSFU room, what we need is our confirm exit, which is MediaSFU equivalent. So we just do a disconnect room, and then first also we make a check to make sure we are still in the room, but all these dummy things. So in here we need a confirm exit. So our options are confirm exit and then confirm exit options. Those are our options to exit from a room on media service. So if I hit control, let me import this first to describe what this is supposed to be. So if I hit control this, it needs the socket, local socket, because there's sometimes communication with local media SFU and then cloud, and then the member and then room, and then whether we are banning, whether you are banning the user. So this will come true for when we are kicking out a user in some cases. So here, same way you're going to read off just the values from the source parameter. So this is going to be just read off the same values, and you're not banning in this case, so you're just going to be false. Now we're just going to call the same function without the options part. So confirm exit options, and let's import confirm options. Sorry, let's import confirm exit, confirm options. So essentially we have option to exit the room. And if it's the host, it's automatically enter the room. If it's not the host, you just exit the room. Now, the very last function I'll write will be for the one to restrict, to remove a user. So to kick out a user for the room. So, and but particularly the MediaSFU equivalence for this is just ban participant. So by default, I'll reload the suggestions and then I'll get rid of confirm exit part. Also, we make a check of the host, and we make a check of the participants we are trying to get rid of, and just make sure we actually have that in there. So for removing a user, we need the remove user options from MediaSFU. So I'm gonna grab this first, then I can explain what this entails. So I'm gonna grab, which means I can remove participants without the option. So remove participants. So that's the function to actually call with the option. So in the options, if we click on this, we have host responsibility, the participant, the member, the level, almost everything here also comes out from the source parameters other than the participants, which we have to figure out and pass. So we go back here, we have already have the participant being captured from here. So I'm going to just fill this with everything we need coming from the source parameters, other than the only new thing here being the participants, which we are already getting from here, from up here. Now we just run our function with await remove participant and then pass the options. So in summary, we have a couple of functions. You can have more depending on what you need to write from get from MediaSFU. And then but every logic should have options. Look up the options and then look up the example usage to guide you, and then it's always like options, and then without the option is the function, and then with the lowercase camel case. So yeah, so essentially we have this. So we are gonna go back to our MediaSFU our space details, And instead of manually importing that, we will just update every usage to come from here and complete the logic of removing and then disconnecting from the room. So we proceed to our components and space details. We are just going to switch everything to the use the SDK usage. So we're going to get rid of this from here as we are going to use the toggle audio that we have from our new so, so I'm going to have my new methods, toggle audio, disconnect room, restrict media, and then remove audio, so remove member, and then oh, find the usages of it and then change them to the new value as expected. So in our usages, so we just remove all references to our previous methods and then clean up. So instead of this, I'm gonna get rid of all of this and then I'll have a wait. Toggle audio and then by default we need the source parameters. Then we look at where we actually live from here and we'll handle the function. And in here, we didn't just leave room, so we actually add an option to disconnect from the room. So I'll have a disconnect function, and then I'll leave the room. Now, we end the space as well as the host. So when we are leaving the space as well, we have to actually disconnect from the step, the MediaSFU server. So in here, I'll and then when we look at the option to remove and then mute a participant, or use our options to remove and toggle restrict media. So first one is a check for when you're banned. So currently when you're banned, you just leave. That's an option of a leave. Also in here, before we leave, we make sure we disconnect from the room. So before we leave, I'll just make sure disconnect from the room. Then for muting, mute participants, we can handle mute participants. We don't just mute locally, but you actually use the restrict media. So in here, I'm gonna call the before our local API mutes. You're gonna have the option to mute participants before our actual mute logic. So the one provided by the API. So this SDK. And then finally, when we remove the participant, I still want to use the remove participants option. So essentially uh, now, how was the supervisor of the supervision of the case when just something as a so um the same states look at how so when we have the source change, source change. Add two new listeners. One is going to be for audio level. Then one is going to get be for the mic recording level. So first, I will create the audio level. Initially, here we make a check if the yes audio level is still saved. Then same way, it's a state of MediaSFU so the opposite is already on. Same for video already on, and the screen already on. So I check this. Sure, so doesn't it's set to so with the states just go to update which is set of your level. So let's look at the wise there. So while the level is going to three, so we level set of level. Now once we find these two parameters, let's go to our states. You know, where we have the reference to audio audio static data, we are gonna have the audio level passed to the the components so here where we use creates audio level pass, and then we just want to see your mic intensity. So this supplemental audio level pass and this that's audio level pass. So we need to create a pass and we need to without default. So it's to show to the right. Is that the sellers? Small. If you go actually trade, let's see. So we have that still about let's see that to place this one. So maybe it's a check. Sure. So to do this, we are with it's only in the last uh you know, and in here just render some color bars based on how intense our our audio level is. So just skip down this and then by default you read our audio level as our state and then I will go through some dots from low to high, indicating the severe intensity or not. Okay, so I'll just bring in audio level bars to the application as you read now. So we have for audio level bars in here. So two things we've managed to fix is get an audio level bars and then get our audio kit as well as our mute and mute state. So for very quick check to make everything complete. One, would you need to create room or join room based on so assuming another user comes in to the space, it doesn't really need to be always create room. So our handler to create or join a room shouldn't be just random or just fixed. So where we do showroom details, here, it doesn't need to be fixed. It needs to be dynamic, which we create based on the inputs and the details of the space details and then the user details. So we have to check, we have to change this. And currently, when we create a room, I just create to look at the API. It creates a dummy name that says so notes. Let's go. So currently, there's a remote naming properties. So it's a dummy name and let's suppose something number. So far as we haven't changed the room name, it still means we are yet to do that on MediaSFU. Once it's this, we know we have to create a room. And then once it's no more this, we know the room is created that we can join and then we don't create an extra room. So in our space details, we are gonna create basically a listener to know when to join the room or when to create a room instead of when to join the room. So I'm going to define new functions as join room and create room. So essentially, they'll just populate this parameter. So I'll just send this back to you now. Okay, so then I'll define a function for join room. Probably so let's the water somewhere. I just will try it before I listen now. Source to so process over here. I'm gonna define a function for join room. And particularly, what it does is this: it just assign the current show details as current, right? And show details as current, the action will be joined, and then the name of the person joining is going to be the current user dots. Now you can't send the display name. It needs to be the ID due to the restrictions of alphanumeric and then the size of the string between 2 and 10. Then for the meeting ID, there's going to be a remote name, which you just described now. So if hopefully it exists before we are running this. And then do that same for Patreon. So also all we need is our action, our name, and then our duration. If you want to take what is so 15. This is still handled at the backend, so I'm gonna go with this, and then the capacity, which is with the space capacity. So this is supposed to be space capacity. Here, it's the duration. We have our duration, it's in milliseconds currently, per species. So we'll have to convert this to minutes. So this is going to be shown by 60 times 1,000. That's if it exists. That would be matching us to get it to minutes as the said. So primarily we have action name duration because the source parameters and update source parameters set. Now, because this is a race issue, then the protein room, we will protest it for um, constitution, which so we will create a function for constitution, created this so if it's created, it's basically checks does the remote name of the space has a remote underscore. Once it exists, we know it's not created. So when it is created, we just want to make a check that the remote name are going to include remote underscore. So there will be an underscore in the also. So if the space the space exists and then the space of exists and then it doesn't include renewals. When we know our own it's filter. Now backup let's put it so spin. So I want to show the reports to press it. This is opinions data. I want to make sure okay. It's something pending, if not, we go back. So let's create it's pending state. Yeah, so which is going to uh, which is going to tell us whether to do or just wait for that to complete. The other one will be we don't want to show the room as a show the recipe doors, we don't have to put in here. So one is to control the display, and then secondly, it's for to actually wait for uh, an actual okay. So I'm going to show you and in here I can just I can do open this state indicator. Basically it's the rest to make sure we are not running many things at once, and then I'll do a showroom, a state showroom, which is basically about state that controls rendering of MediaSFU in our interface. Now, let's go back to our join room. Make sure we make use of this tool. So basically, you want to make a check if it's pending, we return. So if it's pending, so else we are gonna set now. Once we are able to populate these details, we are gonna set showroom. So we are going to show showroom. Then we are gonna do our spending. Oh, basically the list still it's where we update the parameter necessary and actually show that it's done within the list. So we're gonna do the same thing for catering. Down here, we're gonna do the same. Okay, so for this four, now let's do conditionally render the video set room. So on the handler, and let's make the handler dependent on um on this, and then we don't need this div. We don't need this div for some time now. So since we switched to use within URL force, this doesn't apply. Basically, there's no this is controlled by if you check the rest of the handler, it's controlling and so we don't really need the div since from to the console. So we'll rather the showroom, showroom buildings, the showroom buildings. So usually we always use to check um, actively future join space. Now, one thing we also need to do is go back to our state handler. And in our state handler, we want to make sure uh, we sync the changes as well. So let's proceed and then change. So let's put basically a state handler to join operate the room, but automatically. So because we are now more automatically creating that, let's use a use effect to do that. So somewhere before our what's our source string? So source listener, source string listener. Source string listener. I'm gonna put another listener, and essentially I want to make a check of whether we can join the room, and then if not, we are already showing the room. We want to be sure that there is no room, as in we still having remote in the name. If all this is true and we are the host and the current user is valid, then we make a check. If you're not already waiting for its pending request, then you create a room. Else, if you're not the host and then we are not showing the room, also sorry, if maybe the host the room is already created and you're returning. So if the room is not shown and there's actually if room exists, opposite of no room means the room exists, you can join the room. So technically, does the room not exist? If not true, create a room. If it exists, we are not showing the room, then we are gonna use a check a join room option. So um rely on things like join room, can show room, current user space, and then I think we need its host somewhere here to complete that. And I'm just going to disable the exhaustive check here. Probably relying on the waiting for the function. Okay, so uh, I think here we also need the it's muted. It's muted state, and then connected, it's muted, and then audio level also. Okay, so in here it's just a function references to disable that for the checks. Okay, so it means when you come into the UI, we are gonna have a quick create a join if we really don't have a room already created or we are currently not showing a room. So that's technically how we are doing that. Then there is also a physical button to manually join the room. We are going to make that also instead of currently it says not yet implemented. So instead of this, I'm going to change this to check, also make something like a similar check to see if we can join the room or create a room and then accordingly join the room. So instead of this, I'm gonna have a check. If not we can join now, we say we can join now. If we can join, and depending on whether the room is created or not, we accordingly join or create a room. So that we don't have double things running. Okay, so once we have the following, we can do two things. So one is we need to update the room name, because when we create it, we need to do that to stop the continuous check to create and the like. So in our source parameters, where we keep updating our source parameters, we are going to have same thing, check of no room. If we actually have the room name, or the one we were displaying our console login, we are going to have that changed, updated. So I'm going to go to source change. That's my listener. So in here, the first thing you're going to do is to make a check for whether this is actually connected. So I'm going to make a check for whether there's no remote. There's a remote name. If there's a remote name, it means we are yet to create the room. So, and then if this is true, I'll just console log with the remote name for now. Then, if it's not the case, and then one thing is we need to update the space locally so that we know what it's changes. I'm just going to put that in. But if that's not the case, and it means the room is already created, we still need to update our space to tell us that, okay, this room is actually created. So essentially, we need our connected is connected to be set properly because the room actually exists. And then here, if it's created for the very first time, we set the state, we console log the name, but still we need to update the space. So in the API, we have the which is so we need to change this to we'll need to just update the room the room name to the new values. That's from the rest. So I'm gonna run still, so I'm gonna run fast. So update this one API. Okay, so essentially we have the logic to create a room, join a room, or based on just space details, and also update the API value for the room. We actually have a room photo basically to have a much more sync state. So let's check this. So our UI is put a new space with choose. Then I'm going to say which description. So here is the space, and if you have the so show now if on the map we should momentarily have our university players see where we would so as as expected. Now we can try and join this as another user. So in terms of the remote power storage, we are not going to be able to join the same browser. I'm going to use routes which in here I'm going to go to this one Then use a profile of Charlie. Then I'm going to join the so if you join this, see that Charlie is able to join the room, and then the other participants also. Mhm. Now, I'm gonna try to turn on video on Charlie's side. Mm, right. I go to some points. I will see both of them go to the speaking dialogue. This one. So yeah, before to Charlie's middle zone, I should have a double click should go to win the lead, but still I should have had the option to turn off the mic because the video is now because we are not actually updating our API. This is depending on our API. We're not updating our API to move the local changes. We are unable to get that information. So we do fix this. We have to fix this in our school details. Basically, uh, whenever a user is unmuted, we don't just change the muted speed. We actually also update our local API together. So where we set is muted, let's change to one thing. So let's find the user which has the same it's MediaSFU name against ID. So let's get a new participant as the users here and then update the current user where the state change. It's muted. Then we make a call to update the space. So we have looking at the space goes like the way we want to put the volume, the meeting volume. So can just roll this out and it's gonna space. Uh, we section this will go back to your input. So I'm gonna put a new space. So um first also description and then upgrades. Now we've got a photo by live here and then things and interesting picture of join this. This time around, I can toggle my camera from media from here or here only one should work. So if I turn on my mic, hopefully the host should have uh, there is the indicator that the mic is on. So the host can just like we see can mute the user from it. So you click the so it should turn off the media for the host. Sorry, for the other participants in the meeting. So essentially we have that logic implemented for now. Now another one we could do is to ban a participant. So yeah, if I want to double click and ban this user, so to confirm this, let me just join this meeting on our local events. Then true. So in here, by default, I'm gonna set my display to sorry. I want to see our participants. Display. I want to see show participants. I'm gonna save this. So by default, if the display type is anyone is media, either audio or video. If you don't have media, it doesn't show. So if you change this, it's gonna show up here. So now when I bin these participants and I delete these participants, you're gonna see that one, we don't get um, the participants remote from the UI. So let's fix that. So in our application, where we have enroll participants, we are gonna get the option to ban participants. So that's basically what we have from our local API to remove the participant from our UI. So we're gonna have ban participants which are pulled from our API. Okay, so so make sure this is fine for the database. So with this tool, we can use make sure we can effectively run a participant from the URL. And also we probably want to listen to some let's reviews from the videos. If we probably to use the post leads a participant to be drawn to and on the media, I think we're gonna get the post 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 football message. And if you are kicked out or something, you probably want to put them on, or you don't necessarily have to listen to everything that is the very full hearing. So um to check that out, you can make this in space. I probably need to really visit this connection or research and stuff. So we want to review the space and people who do that. So to demonstrate that I put in this space. So it's much control. You can hear this. So if I do quick fix. Now, if another participant joins this on the on both streets meeting room, so administrator, and I'm gonna produce one. Um, I, I join this to my here. If I turn on my mic, um, I also turn on my mic here. Sorry, this is too stuck. No, I turn on my mic from there, and I also turn on my mic from here. Now, if the host happens to hear one, if the host happens to turn off my mic, I'll get disconnected. Now, if I try to turn it back on, I'm gonna get the permanent of the host since I've been by host. Now, from the point of the other user, if the host turns off the mic, they're not gonna really get the mute this guy. And I already admitted they didn't have any feedback when they tried to run their mic on. Or they just keep getting to right clicking and then it keeps failing. So if you were to be keeping track of the alert, the MediaSFU at least it will pop up for the user to know okay, you have been disconnected. And also maybe alerts like the meeting has ended and so let's just create an alert listener for changes in MediaSFU's UI that you may care about. So I'm just gonna end this phase and then we'll do that. So in creating the listener for our messages, let's just go down to well, source change. Um, source change listener, and then in here, we are gonna have a listener for MediaSFU alerts, which will just cause a change. So first, just define a local parameter which I'm gonna use to keep sync with MediaSFU. So I'll call that MediaSFU alert. Then down in our source change, if there's a change in uh, MediaSFU alerts. The MediaSFU alerts, there's alert message, there's an alert type, and then there's like default duration that's included. So basically, we're gonna make a check if there's an alert. Just two after the muted. So so let's whatever this stream, but if there's an alert here now, let's set that to let's set the details of the to that, and then make a change. I'll make a check if it's still the same as our. If it exists, we are gonna set our message to that. So if it's not like a blank message, we're going to set our message to that to the value. Now, you be getting some messages. For example, like yeah, MediaSFU, and there's a screen share which doesn't impact this, and you have like this rotates. It tries to check your screen size, and then if you're not in landscape mode, it advises you to learn to rotate and like so. It's although you're not going to screen share in this case, it's most likely going to trigger a lot of errors. That's because one, nobody's going to screen share, but then just as a guide, just an option for uh, show off a message that you can potentially omit. You can omit a message. Also, a very key message that you might have is meeting has ended. For whatever reason, the meeting has ended. Maybe your duration here is 10, 20. It's not ending per your front, but then on media sector, it means whatever you're going to do going forward, it's never going to reflect in your meeting room. So it's key that at least for something like meeting has ended or rotating. So we are gonna ignore everything like rotation, and then for something like meeting has ended, I at least want to like end the space in our local environment as well. So if the meeting has ended, now depending on whether I'm the host or I'm not the host, I'm going to um, I'm going to end the space, and then if I'm not the host, I'm just going to leave the space. So it's going to leave the space. So if the meeting has ended, I have to look a little much. Now, um, with um, with the very with the very last option, which is does the message include whether you should rotate or not? We're just going to filter out every message that include rotation. So if you are not the same and then you include rotate, you're gonna get rid of you. So if you are not the same, and then from here, and that you didn't include the word the rotate, which basically is an issue with we're not showing a lot of width per media circuit display. So if we are not rotating, and then we are not rotating, and then we are not we are listening to meeting has ended, that's enough data for us to at least see what's happening. You could still go through some of the alerts and then fine tune the ones you really want to display. There could be a couple that you don't really care about. So this is just a sample illustration of that. So well, couple of things. I'm just the states sync. So the social is connected audio level for now. This going to disable those three. Those three checks. And then in our space, we can just go back and try our new changes in the UI. So let's go to our meeting room. And in here, create, let's say, close. So stage. I'm going to copy the same thing as here, and I'm going to do here is going to be description. Create the space. Now, same way as we tried the last time, I'm going to try. I'll go to live rooms and then I'll check to turn on the media, then turn off and see what happens from the other side. So if I turn on my media from here, now if I go back to the side of the host, I will turn off this media as we've seen earlier. And from the other participants' view, now when they try to turn on the media, so I think we need to update this in our UI to display our. We are not currently displaying our MediaSFU alerts. So let's add our MediaSFU alerts to our system. Just quickly on this bit of putting up the message now. I record this function. Let's make a picture of whether we are absolutely operating the materials exported state. Source change. Here we can check on so it's part of this. In the alternative business approach, because if you are late, we then respond this certainly also if you are late to that, and then also if the alert message is we set the message to the alert message, and then we are open specific piece of putting in the I'm just gonna restart, save this again, sorry, and then go back to the event room and then start a new event. So I'm gonna leave space, and I'm gonna create a new space for let's say this. I'm gonna say test. See this description. After this, I'm not gonna take this for one last time. It should work by default. So in our so in our page, I'm gonna go to live and then go to the test messages option. Then from here, if I so try turn on my mic again, and then I'll control this from the side of the host. While then need to then you're here and put you from here. If I try to turn on my mic again, it's not populating. I think that's mute option. It's not it's not updating our message. But ideally this should work. And this cross check with that update. Please finish up on this. Also one very quick last thing should be on the topic of the audio grid. By default, MediaSFU's audio grid has the component displayed has many audio components. So this is an illustration. If I go to SFU.com, there's components. I go to mini audio. Oh, I think it's oh, there should be a mini audio player. You're gonna see this small kind of box with an indicator of voice activity. And by default, the MediaSFU's display computes a sequence of users based on interest level. So any user probably with both video and audio on is prioritized over just audio and the like. So if at a point in time, for one or two reasons, maybe by pagination, if think of a very big large room with 1,000 or 2,000 people, you obviously can't display 1,000 or 2,000 videos in your UI. Or do we support that you have to work with pagination to put items on a different page, so that when you switch a page, they are paused so that you don't exhaust your resource rather side. Ideally, you should be able to run that, but on client side, you even struggle with 50 high quality videos. So for pagination reason, if I fix my display to be to not see other participants rather than those with video, this is going to pop up because somebody's speaking, you want to know where someone is coming from. And then so either pagination or due to users fixed display. Now, we're just going to quickly illustrate that. And I will space, I will create a new space here, and then I'll say test auto with also to description, then I'll create a space. Now I'm going to join this space both locally and then SpacesTek. So live, I join here. Now I turn on my mic. I will join the browser as another participant. So I'm going to copy the link of the meeting details, and when I join this meeting, I'll use the name as by default, I can see user C because the mic is on. The host by default is here, so you don't really have to worry about that. If the host was turn on the mic, also you're gonna have the display. Now for user C, to force the appearance of this as I'm describing, I'm gonna do two things. One is I'll change my display and say I want to just show video participants only, and then when I do this, the option that says okay, display autographs or not, I want to still also force video display, because sometimes when you don't force video display, you feel someone is of real interest. At a point in time, it may be forced. But if you absolutely force video display and I do save, you're gonna see user C will be out of the screen, and they'll have this draggable UI with the electricity level playing, basically telling us user C speaking and it's not on our display. Now, to completely hide this, I'm gonna have to go to my display again and then set this parameter, display auto audiographs. That's what completely gets rid of this. So although we are not seeing the user in the browser, and we need to see the user if we do this. This completely goes. So um, display the parameter display all the graphs completely gets rid of. If you uncheck it, you're never gonna see something of that nature. So now, with respect to audio playing in the Spaces Tech, every audio being rendered apart from yours, because you don't want to hear yourself, it's completely taken care of by the audio grid. You don't really have to worry about anything. The only issue you might face is this periodically coming through, and it's in a very rare instance that it might come through. Now, to correct this, just like we did for here, we are gonna test the same thing in our UI. So, and sometimes you feel like we are not rendering anything from MediaSFU. This might particularly escape the logic because of how it's rendered. So how we force the display here and how we force do not show video only. We are gonna replicate the same thing. So let me end in this space, and in our space details, where we do a source change, I'll briefly force this to happen. So uh, yeah, I will force a call to update display type to video, just like forcing display, and then we are forcing video optimize because we absolutely just want to see video, guys. Always. We don't want a situation in which an algorithm feels there's a need for audio participant to be displayed. I'm going to do the same thing too for the person who joins. So then I'm also this guy's side. I'm going to also do this here temporarily. So I'll do this so that I see the impact of audio wave appearing on the screen. So um, let's create a new space and say test pause auto wave. But place this here as a description. So, and here, if I hit space, now I will join this on the website. Live and go to display, and particularly from here, if I turn on my mic from the side of the host, uh, you'll see this, which is so a valuable component like I mentioned. If I join on the local host, so you're gonna see this thing playing in our browser because we are forcing the display and then we are making it optimal. So essentially, to absolutely make sure this never happens, we are gonna do the same thing as we did for the browser where we say we kind of display auto wave, and this is a rare occurrence, but to absolutely make sure this is never gonna happen, with all your audio wave in Spaces Tech, let's go to space details. Then we'll get rid of these guys as our first domain. Then we'll just call update auto wave. All of its functions will call MediaSFU internally like we did for here. And you're going to do the same thing too for this side. So essentially, I'm going to go in this space and then once you come back to run this, now there's no scenario to demonstrate this because we are not forcing and then we are not and if you were to keep update and force and you keep this, it's never going to appear again. So this is the absolute check of it not being rendered when it's supposed to come through. So finally, we don't really need our flexible grid that's appearing. We're going to get rid of that. But it's audio only. Our audio is going to audio grid. So we are going to just get rid of flexible grid reports. Then that essentially completes our space details update from initial to final. And in summary, all we did is we get our MediaSFU, ReactJS, and then we created our listeners for things we care about, and then we render our UI. Now, for example, if someone starts a screen share, the other side, we absolutely not gonna see it over here because obviously we are not displaying anything from the main grid. How about you want to render a custom stream, modify, immediately generic, and the like? Those are stuff that are completely not covered in the current context. So we want to just keep it final to just SpacesTek the original idea as audio room. If you care about that, you have to watch SpacesTek, the video on SpacesTek final to advanced, which you're gonna find on GitHub and then our YouTube page. So it will take SpacesTek initial and then proceed and then add video support, switching cameras and then selection, and then also do things like custom rendering of media, uh, creating your generic components, and having a much more advanced interface. So this is all available on GitHub as media's a SpacesTekFinal, and it just took our initial to listen to be our base point to go from here to advance. Thank you, and then that's all for now. I'm gonna see you in another video. Bye.